Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're amazing. Apologies for last week. We were not able to complete last week's session due to power cut, which kind of interrupted the session in the middle. And the recording unfortunately ended up getting crashed in the process. So I'm not able to revive it. And that's the reason why we have this recording today. So I'm re-recording the whole thing. So in case if you missed last week's session, please be sure to catch up with this recording so that you can be on the same page with what we did last week. So welcome to week 7. We're almost completing month 2 of the B framework, which is under building your personal brand. So today we're going to be looking at interview preparation and practice. Okay, so as usual, we usually begin with our career advancement pledge. But since I'm re-recording this video, I'm not going to repeat it. So I'll just skip that for now. Okay, so our agenda for today is understanding the interview landscape in 2025. Understanding the interview landscape in 2025, common interview questions and strategic answers, frameworks to answer effectively, that is according to the STAR and POWER method, mock interview exercise, peer-to-peer or self-practice, Q&A, and then the assignment for the week. Okay, so let's look at understanding the 2025 job interview landscape. How are interviews actually being conducted right now? As we can see, as we have seen, there's quite a lot of involvement in the coaching industry, in the job market industry. Things are evolving day by day. The way we write our CVs is not the same way we used to write back in those days, which also applies to our interviews. So even when you answer interview questions, it's not the same as it used to be those days. So what are employers looking for today? Employers today are looking for more than just someone who can do the job. They want problem solvers. These are people who understand challenges and offer proactive, thoughtful solutions. Number 2, they're looking for strong communicators, especially those who can explain their ideas clearly, work well in teams, and build trust quickly. And then the other thing is they're looking for people who are adaptable, professionals who have a growth mindset, because they value those who are eager to learn, evolve, and grow alongside the company. Okay, so I hope we're clear with that. So what modern interviews look like today? With the advancement of technology, these days we no longer just have only physical interviews, but now we have virtual interviews, virtual first. So meaning that many interviews nowadays can happen on Zoom, Google Meet, or any other virtual platform requiring you to build presence and connection on screen. Personally, almost 70 to 80% of the interviews that I've done in the past have been more virtual than even physical. Why? Because of the advancement of technology. So you might even find yourself maybe interviewing for, I don't know, an American organization. Most of the times, obviously, you're going to have to end up doing that interview virtually. So you need to be able to build your presence and connection virtually. Then the other thing is skills focused. So it's less about your job title and more about what you can do, especially your transferable skills like communication, leadership, and problem solving. One thing that you guys need to know is that right now in today's job market, as much as technical skills are important, hard skills are important, but the skills that are going to sell you in terms of you getting that job offer are your soft skills. Why? Because having your hard skills alone are not enough. The soft skills are the ones that sell you to get that job. Because if you cannot communicate, if you are not adaptable, if you do not have emotional intelligence, adaptability, then those skills are going to be so difficult for you. It's going to be so difficult for you to get that job at the end of the day. So it's very, very important to ensure that you keep practicing and working on your soft skills, because those are what land you a job at the end of the day. So performance, most modern interviews also are measured by performance, meaning that under performance, we have clarity in terms of, do you communicate your thoughts well? Those are things that hiring managers or employers are going to look at during the interview. How are you communicating your thoughts well? Are they clear? Can somebody be able to understand? Do they make sense? Do they connect the dots? That is one. Number two, confidence. Do you believe in your value? Because it's one thing to have a good CV. It's another thing for you to come out here and defend exactly what is in your CV. So if you're not able to own your work, if you're not able to defend what you've written down on paper, it's going to be quite difficult for you to sell yourself and get that job. So you need to ensure that you have that confidence. Of course, not too much of it, because again, too much of anything is always bad, but at least have it there moderately, in a way that you can be able to still express yourself clearly and sell your value. And then last is value. Can they see what you're bringing to their team or company? Because one of the things that you need to know is that a lot of companies are going to look for assets. No one wants to deal with a liability. No one wants to pay someone who is going to become a liability in their organization. So what can you bring to the table? What new thing can you bring to the team? So apart from you just gaining from them, they also want someone whom they can also be able to gain from. So it's a two-way street, guys. Do not only focus on yourself, but also focus on what you can bring for them, because you yourself, you're also unique. You also have something that you can bring to the table, and that is exactly what they are looking for. Okay, so what exactly is the real goal of an interview? So it's not just about, one thing that you need to know is that it's not just about answering questions correctly, but it's about positioning yourself as the solution to the company's problems or goals. Because one of the things that you need to know is that you having the best CV, the best experience, you may even be the right fit and the person who is qualified for that job. But if you're not able to position yourself properly, then you're wasting your time, because you might find someone without the best CV, but they have mastered the art or the game of positioning themselves well. Those are the ones who are going to end up getting the job over you, who is qualified. So I want you to think of it like this. Every job exists to solve a problem. So your task is to show how your unique experience, your mindset, and skills are the best fit to solve that problem. As I told you right from the beginning when we started this program, the reason as to why job descriptions exist in the first place is because these companies have pain points that they are dealing with, and so they want somebody who can be able to come in on board to help them solve that problem. So you positioning yourself as a solution solver or problem solver is what is going to get you that job at the end of the day, not necessarily the one who has got all the experience that they're looking for as per the job description, but the one who is going to position themselves as the problem solver is the one that is going to get that job at the end of the day. Okay, so here we had an interactive poll, but unfortunately, since I'm re-recording this thing again, you can probably go through this at your own time and then re-answer this question. But basically, the poll was all about asking you, why do you think interviews are hard? Now, a lot of the times, interviews always make people panic. So I gave some options down here. So one of the options is, I get really nervous. I don't know what they want to hear. I struggle to talk about myself. My mind goes blank under pressure. I have the experience, but I don't know how to explain it. and then any other reason that may not be explained under any of these options. So in your own opinion, take the time and think through, how has your experience been with interviews? Maybe you've not been getting past the interview stage. What do you think could be leading you not to get those interviews? What do you think could be the challenge or the barrier preventing you from passing those interviews? So that is something that I want you to take time, reflect upon, and then answer that question. Come up with an answer to this question, because when you get to identify what your problem is, then you can be able to have a solution to work on it in order to help you bridge that gap. Okay, so we'll proceed. So here we're trying to discuss on why interviews are hard, because this is something that I've dealt with personally. They're also hard for me personally. So I've been both, of course, a recruiter and a candidate, and definitely I've experienced both sides of the coin. So even out of my own experience, I can surely tell you that even me being a candidate, honestly, I found interviews very hard and intimidating, right? So job interviews can feel overwhelming, nerves kick in, the pressure builds, and you're not always sure what they want to hear. So most people walk in with stories about their past jobs or experiences. But I want you to take some time and reflect. The problem is, what is actually making interviews hard is people tell great stories, which is not bad. Yeah, you can actually tell your great stories. However, the problem is you don't link them to what the hiring manager actually cares about. So how can this person help us succeed? That is something that goes behind the mind of a hiring manager. For example, there's this common question that you'll always find in interviews where they're asking, tell me about yourself. Now here, as much as it's nice for you to introduce yourself, what you do, your background, maybe you're talking about your past achievements, what you were able to do in your former company and all of that, as much as all those stories are good, but you need to be very, very careful. Why? Because that story or that question can end up making you misfire right from the get-go. So you need to be very, very intentional, because even as I keep emphasizing for you guys that CVs are very strict. Do not go beyond the number of pages that are exceeded or that are needed. Why? Because if you go beyond, for example, maximum 2 pages, it's so easy for you to get caught up in that whole saga, and then you end up giving other irrelevant information that the job does not require. So I always emphasize for you to stick to the game, stick to limited number of pages, but when you know that the information that you've given in your CV is exactly speaking the language of the job, meaning that your CV is a solution to the pain point in the job description. Because a lot of the times, a lot of these companies, hiring managers and all of that, they don't really care about your past experiences. They don't really care about your past praises. All they want to know is, okay, are you the right fit for our job? How exactly are you going to solve our current pain point that we are going through right now? So that's why it is very, very important that even as you're answering these questions and you're giving your previous stories, always ensure that the story that you're bringing or you're sharing is directly aligning with the job description. Any other thing that is not connecting, please refrain from it, because that way you end up misaligning yourself, and then you end up diverting to what the hiring manager does not actually care about. So limit your answer, but stick to exactly what the job is all about, so that way you're remaining specific, and it's easier for them to identify you as the solution solver to their problem. Okay, so I hope you guys got that point correctly. So in case if there are any parts where you feel like you didn't understand very well, please feel free to reach out, and I can always re-explain some of these things. Yeah. so that way you're able to catch up. So let's look at the common mistake, the impressive but irrelevant trap. Many candidates share stories they are proud of, but they often miss the mark. I hope you caught that. The story might be impressive, but it doesn't show how they are the right fit for this specific role. That's why, as I said previously in the past, it's so easy for you to get caught up, with the vice of giving so much information on your CV because you want to show how much of experience you have or how much of great things you've done in the past. But at the end of the day, to disappoint you, all that information doesn't really matter. They don't really care about all that information. What they're looking for are people who are concise, straight to the point, and people who are clear that will not waste their time. Like, it doesn't need to take them ages to figure out if you're their right person or not. Within just a little time, they should be able to tell whether this is our person or not. And the same thing goes with interviews. Just from the way you're answering your questions, it's already easy for them to tell whether you're their person or not. So ensure that you are sharing stories that directly align with the role that you're applying for in order for them to see the solution that you're going to bring to them for the table. Okay? So if you are sharing a story that is impressive but does not clearly show that you're the right fit for this specific role, then this will lead to missed chances to highlight key skills or directly connect your experience to what the employer is actually looking for. And that means your chances of passing that interview are going to be very slim. So keep this in mind. This is a very, very common mistake that happens during interviews. So you need to have this at the back of your mind. Okay, so we also have another exercise here, mini activity, for you to spot the missed opportunity. So, for example, I want you to imagine that you're interviewing just picture yourself as a recruiter, for example, and you're interviewing for a project coordinator role, and you're asked, or you ask someone, tell me about a time you led a project. I want you to look at these two answers and tell me which of these answers do you think is most aligned with the job. Between candidate A and candidate B, whom would you actually shortlist, or who would actually pass the interview? Candidate A says, I organized a community cleanup event that got over 200 volunteers. It was a great success. Whereas candidate B says, I led a cross-functional team to deliver a project under budget and 2 weeks early using project management tools like Trello and regular reporting. So just take a minute, reflect upon this answer, and then think about it. Who do you think would actually pass that interview or get the job? Is it candidate A or candidate B? Chances are, I'm sure majority of you would pick candidate B. During the previous class, a lot of the people picked candidate B. Why? Because his answer is more organized. He gives the timeline. There's more context to it. He has also mentioned some of the tools that he has used under project management to make it more realistic, right? Whereas candidate A, as much as the answer is not bad, but it's too general and it's too vague. It does not really connect to it being under project management, to it being under maybe a project that he coordinated. So it looks very vague. So you see, so this is a clear example of you sharing great experiences, but unfortunately, or great stories that are unfortunately not aligned with the job that you're applying to. So you see, so that becomes a mismatched opportunity. So be very, very careful, even as you come up with your stories, with your examples. some of the stories that you've had in the past, always ensure that they are aligned with the role that you're applying for. Do not give mismatched information, because if you do, then there'll be no connection between you and the role that they're looking to hire. Okay, so now I want to introduce you to a very, very simple framework that's going to help you with your interview process. Yeah, so it's called the Role Fast Interview Framework. So under the Role Fast Interview Framework, we have a 3-step system to strategic storytelling. So most people usually start with their story. However, smart candidates flip the script. They start with the role. So this 3-step framework helps you align your answers with what hiring managers actually want. So instead of you just saying, okay, maybe like for example, if you're asked, maybe tell me about yourself, instead of you just saying, hello, my name is so and so, I have 3 years experience maybe in project management, I have a bachelor's degree in business admin, maybe master's in this, previously I've worked for ABCD company and all of that, so instead of you starting with a story, refrain from starting with a story and go straight to actually talking about the role. So if we reverse, or if we flip the script, you'll now start your answer in such a manner that, hello, my name is so and so, and I'm excited to apply for the project manager role because I've been able to do maybe ABCD under this role that has helped me achieve ABCD success. And this is what I can bring to the table if I am hired for this position. That's it. Do you see how that one is more direct, because you've gone ahead to actually answer the pain point of the job, and that's the reason why you've been called for the interview, to defend why you're the right fit for that role. So instead of saying all these other blah 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 stories, about your academics, your previous experiences, your name, blah blah blah, and all of that, start exactly with the role, the position that you're applying for, and then mention what you've done under that role in the past, or maybe some of the pain points that you solved under that position in the past, to show exactly what you can bring for them to the table if you're considered for that position. That way, it positions you as a strong candidate for that job. So under this framework, we have 3 steps. Number 1 is to, first of all, analyze the role. Before you ever go for any interview, guys, I want to emphasize the aspect of preparation and planning, because it's not good for you to just bump into some of these things like that without preparation, right? A lot of the times why interviews become hard, why we tend to panic during interviews, is because we've not taken the time to prepare, to plan ourselves accordingly. But when you take the time to plan yourself, then you end up eliminating some of these errors or some of these fears that tend to come up as a result of having an interview. So number 1, analyze the role. Understand exactly what skills and qualities the role demands, because this will help you be able to now shape up your answers according to the skills and the qualities that this role is looking for. Number 2, map your stories, meaning match your past experiences to the demands of the role that you're applying for. It's very, very important, guys, to always connect your stories with what this job is looking for. Because if you just give your stories generally, like we saw from the previous exercise that we did of the project management coordinator role, the other one just said, I volunteered and it was a great success. But the other one went ahead and gave some context and even mentioned the tools that the person has used under project management. So that becomes more advisable and someone is able to consider you for that role because you're matching your past experiences. Always connect the dots to the demands of the role, because the reason why you're having that interview is because they are looking for someone to come in to solve their pain point. So you need to show them that you're the solution to that job. So they don't want to know any other business. They just want to know what exactly concerns them, which is the pain point of the job. And then lastly, number 3 is to structure for impact. Ensure that you're crafting your answers clearly using metrics. Guys, one thing that you need to know is that metrics, numbers, they do not only end on your CV alone. No, you're equally going to have to talk about them even during the interview. They cut through in the interview. So if you thought that you're just going to throw your numbers in the CV and then it ends there, my dear, no. You're going to need to also need to also defend them during the interview so that your story connects, so that your story makes sense. Okay, so when you structure for impact, it will enable you to craft your answers clearly using metrics and storytelling techniques. Those are the 2 skills that you need to master under the interview game: storytelling and numbers. Always keep that in mind. Storytelling and numbers. When you're able to connect those 2, when you know how to use those 2 skills, that is what is going to sell you to get that job at the end of the day. So think of it like a funnel. A broad job needs your experience. So your experience is going to need sharp, relevant answers in order to help you secure that role. Okay, so I hope we are clear with how the framework works briefly. So here, let's look at some examples. So step 1, we are looking at role analysis, yeah, which was what we saw previously under here, analyze the role. So how exactly do you analyze the role? How exactly do you understand what skills and qualities that position demands? So this is what we are looking at here. So before you prepare your answers, yeah, you need to first study the job description like a blueprint. That's the reason why I gave you guys that previous assignment under week 4 that has the job tracker, so that you can organize all your things in one place. All the previous jobs that you've applied for, update them in that tracker, so that in case you get shortlisted for any of the jobs there, it's easy for you to go back and refer to your tracker and then be able to get the previous job description that you applied for. But when you're not updating your information in that tracker, then it's going to become hard for you to easily remember, oh, Mpoze, which job did I apply for last time? Mpoze, which job is this that I've been shortlisted for? I don't even remember. What you see now there, how disorganization starts coming in from the get-go, and that means it ends up also affecting how you're going to present yourself during the interview. But when you've organized all these things right from the get-go, then it's going to go a long way in also helping you secure the interview and be able to nail it. So I want you to break down your job description. Yeah. So here I just gave an example table. Break it down into key competencies, the required skills, and then how important each skill is and what success looks like under that skill. So for example, under competency, we have technical. So if it's a technical skill, what are some of the technical required skills in the job that you're applying for? Maybe under the job that you're applying for, probably it's an IT manager or IT network, I don't know. And then you're seeing some of the required skills that this job needs are things like Python, system design. Write them down in the table. So I want you to analyze and see the priority. Are these required skills a priority for them or not? Because there are some skills that fall under required and there are some skills that don't fall under required. They are just there. They're like, okay, fine. Even if you don't have it, It's not a must, it's still okay. But there are some skills that you'll find in the job description, they are a must and you need to have them. So in your table, if it's a must, then you'll come and update here high, meaning it's a priority. And then now try to imagine what success will look like under these required skills. So meaning if it's Python, that means you need to be ready to you need to be ready to prepare your mindset, because you're going to be working on difficult projects. They may be complex, some of them may take a longer time frame, depending. So start imagining how success is going to look like under these required skills. That means some of the things that you're going to be dealing with might be things like complex projects, metrics, the numbers, because they need to measure your KPI at the end of the day. Have you been able maybe to achieve your targets? Things like that. So when you start breaking it down, it's going to become easier for you to also come up with stories to explain these skills in accordance to the job. And then number two, the other aspect under competency, you might find leadership. What are some of the soft skills that are required in the job description? You may find maybe the job description under the required skills, they have stakeholder management, meaning under priority, it's also going to be high. So what does success look like under stakeholder management? That means you're going to probably be dealing with alignment across teams, meaning you're going to be working with so many different teams, and that means your task will be to ensure that those teams are aligning with themselves. So do this for each role you apply for, because it's going to help sharpen your interview game instantly. As we have seen, everything that you do when it comes to getting a job has to be very intentional and organized. If you're not intentional and you're not organized, then it's going to be difficult for you to get a job, because one thing leads to another. It's one thing to have a good CV. It's another thing to again get shortlisted for that job. It's another thing again to go through the interview process. It's another thing to pass the interview. And then it's another thing to finally secure the job. And even when you finally get that job and you're now entering that new role in that position, in that organization, it is another thing for you to succeed in the first 90 days. That is again another process, which a lot of people also always take for granted, because they believe like, oh, okay, since I've now gotten the job, that's it, I'm good to go. No, you need to be very, very intentional again within your first 3 months of securing that job. Okay, so now let's look at step 2, story mapping. So this is where step 2 of that 3-part framework comes into place. So we are looking at this, mapping your stories. Okay, so under story mapping, what are you supposed to do? You need to map your experiences to their needs. So under this, once you know what the job requires, pull out your personal wins and then start matching them to the needs of the job. So you need to ensure that the stories that you're bringing are going to be very strong stories with impactful results, because that is what is going to show that this is the right person for this job. This is the candidate that we have been looking for. This is the solution we have been looking for to our problem. So under this, I again gave you an example table similar to the other one of analyzing the role. So under competency, we're looking at leadership, for example. So story options can be you launched a website globally. Is that a strength? That, of course, is a strength, which means it's a very strong strength. And then under metrics, it means you're going to be dealing with complex projects and metrics, right? What success looks like. And then communication, under competency, we have communication. So under communication, you might have things like agile. So you can connect your story option to something like agile change project, right? How was the strength of it? Was it strong? Was it medium? Maybe it was medium. What were the metrics under it? It led to probably 30% productivity gain. So you see, so this is how you start mapping your stories. You start thinking about your previous experiences that you know can align with the position that you're applying for. So aim for at least two strong stories per high priority skill, because that is what is going to show that you're the right fit for the role. So story type examples, for example, strategic impact story. So under here, title, you can have maybe global website redesign. Under skills, planning, tech lead, stakeholders, metrics, 43% conversion, or $2.8 million revenue. You see, those are huge, huge numbers because those are what they are looking for to see those impactful results. Yeah. And then questions led a major project, stakeholder management. You start aligning those things there. Key details, 14-person team or $1.2 million budget project or microservices. So this will show how you were able to handle, for example, such a project. Okay, I hope story mapping has made sense, guys. And then lastly, step 3 is to build a story bank. So curate your best stories. Treat your experience like an asset bank. Organize your best stories by theme so that you can quickly pull the right one when asked. Story bank sections, we have strategic impact, challenges handled, growth and learning. So use this like your personal cheat sheet in every interview in order to help you align yourself. Okay, so now here we have another formula called the sale response formula. So this one goes beyond the STAR method that we are also used to. Of course, we know STAR in full. S stands for situation. T stands for, I think, task, A, achievement, and then R, results, right? Under the STAR method. But now here I'm introducing again another new one, which is way beyond or further than the actual STAR that we are all used to. So SAIL in full stands for S, stands for situation, meaning context and stakes. Then A stands for action, what you specifically did. I stands for impact, which is measurable results. L stands for learning, what you gained and how it applies. So your stories need more than what happened. They need why it mattered. And that's the reason why, even if you notice also with the CV, I've been telling you guys, don't just leave your answers hanging with, okay, fine, even as much as you've put the metrics, yeah, in your explanations, go ahead and still give the end result. What was the end result? How was the impact at the end of the day? Was it positive? Was it negative? Like, go just beyond why it happened, but mention why it mattered. So why it mattered will come in under the impact. What was the result of it? Was it positive or negative? So don't leave your explanations hanging in the CV. So the same thing also crosses over to interviews. Don't just leave your stories more on don't just leave them more on what happened, but also further explain why it mattered. Why was it? What led to? What was the impact at the end of the day? So to look at this sale formula in action, let's give a breakdown. For example, you can have a target question like, tell me about a time you led a big project. So if you're using the SAIL method, here you're going to talk about S, situation. So here you're going to say maybe platform, you're going to talk about a platform, yeah, that had 15% cart abandonment. And then A, action, what you specifically did. So here you led redesign, or you built agile team, or you shifted to microservices. Whatever action it is that you did in your niche or in your industry, retailer it accordingly. And then I is the impact, measurable results, the numbers. So here, the action led to 43% conversion, or it led to $2.8 million revenue project, maybe being success rate, I don't know, or 99.9% uptime in maybe customer consistency, or in solving customer queries, depending on if it was a software that you were working on. Yeah. And then L, we talked about L, which stands for learning, meaning here, at the end of the day, after the situation and then the action and the impact, you're now concluding it with the learning, what you learned out of it all. So meaning here you were able to learn stakeholder alignment, which is everything. So the icing on the cake is now for you to mention what you learned out of that skill or out of that whole scenario, because that is what is going to help you be able to show them that you're a learnable person. So even if you join their company, you're going to be able to learn, you're going to be able to sail through, and you're also showing them what you can actually do for them when you join there. So ensure to keep your answers between 2 to 3 minutes short in total. Go straight to the point, summarize it, but ensure that it's entailing all the different aspects that you need to have in your answer, and that's it. So you don't want, again, to give them something too long, because that way you end up again going out of context. As I said, less is minimal. Always in the job, in the business of this job market, trying to get jobs, keep it at the back of your mind that less is more. Even on your CV, less is more. Interviews, same, that have the same mindset, less is more. And then here I'm giving just a bonus method. This is under PAR. So PAR is also another similar formula, almost similar to STAR. So this one is powerful for behavior results or best interviews. So this one is powerful for behavioral and results-based interviews. So POWER in full stands for problem, meaning what challenge did you face? Action, what specific steps did you take? And then result, what was the measurable outcome? So example can be our social media engagement dropped by 30%. So problem, you conducted audience research. That was the challenge that you faced. You adjusted the posting times. You created more video content. You're trying to see how you're trying to address that challenge that you are facing. And then the action, what specific action did you take? So in 2 months, our engagement increased by 50%, right? And then what was the measurable outcome? I think I forgot to put that. I'm going to check it, guys. Sorry for that. Yeah. So this PAR versus STAR method. So PAR is often more concise and it's great for quick impact. Whereas the STAR method that we are commonly so used to, it gives more context, especially, sorry for that. So STAR gives more context, especially for complex tasks. So you can see all these methods are here, but you just need to know when and where to use them. So if you're seeing that the interview is very complex, the questions are tight and all of that, that's where STAR method obviously will thrive more, because you're going to need to have to explain yourself a lot. in order to give more context to the story. But if you're seeing the interview is a bit not too complex and all of that, then that is where either PAR or the previous sale method can work. Okay, so the assignment is to prepare your interview questions and then revise them. Revise your interview questions and answers. So I have already created for you guys, some of these templates to help you with your interview process journey. So you're going to find them in the classroom. All the templates are going to be there. Okay. So those templates are going to help you be able to understand how to craft your answers more and better using the SAIL method, the PAR, and the STAR method. So I'm giving you guys all the three so that way you know when and where to use each interview type formula to help you depending on the kind of interview that you're going to do. So so feel free to connect with me, guys. Whenever you need any assistance, where you're stuck, please reach out. I'm here to support you guys, but only when you also reach out, because that way I can know that, okay, you're really doing the work and you need that assistance. So I'll be here to help you and guide you through the process. So otherwise, before we conclude, here are just a few extra tips that I can share with you guys for interview success. So one thing that you need to know is that everything starts with practice. Yeah, you can never know. Rome was never built in one day. It took a process for it to be built, and finally it became a city. So likewise, also with interviews, I know, like, even if you've not done interviews in quite a long time, obviously you're going to have fear and all of that. But one of the things to conquer your fear and to help you get good at, the aspect of answering interview questions is practicing. Even if you don't have an interview, practice in front of a mirror or use your family members, whoever, your friend, practice with them. Let them act as an interviewer for you, and then you get to practice. This is going to help you build your confidence so that when that time finally comes, you're able to own it. Yeah. So one mistake that a lot of candidates always make is they always wait for the last minute when an opportunity is now finally readily available. Then that's when now they want to start panicking. They want to start trying to prepare for the interview. But guys, the best time to prepare for an interview is when you don't even have a job coming up. Why? Because that way it helps you get better at what you're doing, so that when that time finally comes for you to get that job, it finds you ready and there will be no excuse for you not to get that job eventually, because you've put in the work, you've been preparing yourself for that final time. Even God rewards those that are putting in the work. You cannot just come in at the last minute and then you're expecting success and yet you've not been putting in the work. It doesn't work like that. One of the things right now that has helped me, even though I've taken a long time without doing interviews, but right now, even if I'm to do an interview, I do not have that much fear like I used to. Why? Because 90% of my job requires talking. So as you can see, I'm always talking. Whenever I'm having these coaching sessions with you guys, I'm always talking. I used to get so scared those days of doing these master classes, of coaching people. But because, I've kept doing it over and over again, I'm also getting to realize that I'm becoming good at it. And that's why I'm able to talk to you guys with this confidence. But this is not something that just happened yesterday. It's been something that I've been doing for quite some time, that I've been trying to build. So right now, almost 70-80% of my work revolves talking. Even when I'm shooting content on social media and all of that, I have to talk. So at the end of the day now, when it comes to doing an interview, for me, it's more easy for me to treat it more like a conversation, because that is revolving my work. That is what I do majority of the times in my work. But for you, it may be a different story. You may not be someone who talks a lot and all of that. So what is going to help you beat that interview anxiety is to start practicing, not just in your head, but in your actions, in your words. The other thing is to record yourself and watch for body language and clarity. When you're able to record yourself, then there you can be able to identify your own mistakes and know where you did wrong and what you did not do right, so that way you can improve accordingly. And then smile. Even during phone interviews, guys, smile. Even if it's an audio interview and they cannot see your face, you cannot see the other person's face, there is always a way. Even your voice, the tone of your voice can still sound smiley, compared to when someone is just dull, the person is too serious and all of that. Companies don't want that kind of tone. They don't want that energy. They don't want someone who is not excited about them, right? Because it means you're going to bring them that negative energy, and no one wants to deal with that. So smile, because that is one of the ways that's going to help you build confidence. And then lastly, always end strong by also asking thoughtful questions at the end of the day. Never, ever, ever make a mistake of going to an interview and failing to ask questions at the end of the day, because that's just going to show that you're not interested in the job itself, and that becomes a red flag for the hiring manager. So always do your research and make sure that as much as they are going to interview you, it is also a chance for you to also interview them. The reason as to why they always ask candidates for questions is because they also need to know that you know what you're looking for, because even you also know what you want, right? You need to know, are they the right employer for me? Because as much as they're looking for their right candidate, but on the other side, when you flip the script, are they also the right employer for you, right? So that balance needs to be there. So end by asking thoughtful questions. It can be questions such as maybe, what does success look like in this role? Or what are the next steps in the interview process? Things of that sort. So you'll get more of these questions in the templates that I've prepared for you, guys, that you'll get in the classroom. Okay, so that was it for the session. Thank you so much. I hope that you've been able to understand a thing or two from this presentation. In case if you have any questions after watching this recording, feel free to drop it in our WhatsApp group and I will respond to you. Where you need help, where you need one-on-one with me, my calendar is always there for you guys. Book it and we can always have that call together. So that was it. Thank you so much for making it this far. I have some few communications that I'll make in the group for next week's class, this week's class actually. So that was it for this one. Thank you so much, and I'll definitely catch you in the next one. Take care and bye for now.